and welcome back into the North Star Takes podcast with Bailey Palicki and Jacob Liberta. You can find all our videos here on our YouTube channel, so hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Also spread the word to your sports-loving friends as well, and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram. And today, we're going to be going into the broad Minnesota sports topic. We visited this once before earlier in the summer, but we kind of figured after a rough start to the Vikings season, it'd be kind of a good idea to evaluate where do the core four Minnesota sports teams stand. And so before we get into this, I just want to preface by saying the reason we don't have the links in this is because they're good. Like, they're always good. They're always winning championships. They don't deserve to be in this conversation of dreadful sports fan
misery.
Yeah. Exactly. And the Loons, I guess neither one of us really followed the Loons too much, but they haven't been around long enough, I don't think, to be a part of this conversation as well. So we're just going to go with the core four. Obviously, the main, fan following. So we're going to get right into it. Where do the four core Minnesota teams stand? I guess, do you want to start us off, Liberta? I guess, who are you feeling good about? Who are you not feeling so good about? Where have you changed since we last approached this during the summer?
Yeah, I feel like I've probably a little bit less on the Vikings, obviously, with kind of a sour start. But I'm still pretty bullish on the Vikings as far as just giving us chances to win, just because I think among the four teams, they've just given us the most chances to really get there towards winning a championship among the four we're about to talk about. So I still feel good about the Vikings, just a little bit less than when we were basically just scratching the surface at training camp the last time we did this. But I'd also add that I feel like as the NBA season gets closer, my hype for the Wolves builds, especially after all the moves we've made since then. I really like the way this team is shaping up, not only for this upcoming season, but for years to come. So I'm pretty excited about the Wolves. And Twins is kind of maintained where I was at a couple months ago, just because I think, not a lot's changed. They've just kind of continued this lost season. So There's not a whole lot to say. And I'd also say the Wild, this is a little bit more troubling now than it was before, just because the uncertainty with Kirill Kaprizov. But really, once he gets back in the fold, not much will really change there either. So I guess I'd say, just with a sour start to the Vikings season, it's brought them down a little bit for me. But I'm still my biggest point of emphasis, I guess I would say, is I still feel confident in the direction all four of these teams are going in, albeit that could be contrary to the belief of most fans. But I still feel pretty good about all four, just because I really like the coaches that are in place as well as the front offices that are backing them up.
Yeah, I'm not quite on the same page with you. I'm not bullish on the Vikings, that's for sure. I believe I had the Wild as my top team, where they were currently sitting, going into their respective seasons, when we last approached this. And I think I'd keep the Wild there for now, assuming that Kirill Kaprizov is coming back. I still believe that they're going to get a deal done. I think it'd be asinine not to. Granted, the way that Kaprizov's agent has handled this whole scenario has just been honestly very crappy. He's not doing Kaprizov any good here. He's actually making him look very bad. And I don't think Kaprizov's a bad guy. I just think he's getting bad advice from his agent. I think they're going to get this figured out. Guerin knows he needs to bring him back. He's the best player the Wild have had in the last decade, for sure. Honestly, he's probably the most talented player we've ever had in our short franchise history. So it's important to bring him back into the fold, get him locked up, and continue building off of how good of a year last year was. Taking Vegas Golden Knights to 7 games in the playoffs. That's a great start to that era of Wild hockey. So I like where the Wild are going. I love Bill Guerin. He's a super transparent GM. He's great. He's a great interview. He's always straightforward. He tells you the truth. He doesn't try to beat around the bush like Rick Spielman and give you GM talk.
Yeah.
Dean Evison also seems like a straight shooter. Him and Mike Zimmer are kind of similar in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just straight shooting, hard-nosed guys that all they care about is winning. They don't care how it's done, stuff like that. So I would say I'll probably keep the Vikings at number 2 for now, but my hype for the Timberwolves is building and building and building. Like, I know it's the Timberwolves and they historically suck and they're historically horrible. I don't know though. I just feel like this year is going to be different. I feel like they're really going to contend for a playoff spot. I think there's no reason they shouldn't be a top 10 seed in the Western Conference.
Mhm.
Yeah, and to get back to the Vikings, I just after this 0-2 rocky start, a lot of our fears that we had going into the season have kind of come true. The Kirk Cousins Mike Zimmer dynamic is kind of falling off the rails. The offensive line still isn't very good, even though they appeared to be a little better against Arizona.
Mhm.
Um, the piece together defense of a bunch of veterans that haven't played together before is taking time to gel. Hopefully they can figure it out, but giving up 30 points a game through the first two games is not ideal, especially
No.
when week one is against the Bengals. Um, Kicking situation is still a little sketchy. I'm not down on Greg Joseph. I think he should be our kicker still, but
Mhm.
it's still sketchy, man. You still can't trust it. And I don't know, there's too many variables at play for the Vikings to be trusted and really for the fans to feel any sort of confidence that they're gonna be able to get out of this 0-2 hole and come back and make a run. So, and then of course that leaves the Twins at dead last. I mean, just an absolutely horrific season.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like Rocco. I'm not going to trash Rocco, but I feel like he's left a lot to be desired this season with a lot of the in-game management moves he's made. Still playing Andrelton Simmons down the stretch here when
Yeah, I
Nick
don't understand that either.
when Nick Gordon could be getting valuable at bats and playing experience just absolutely blows my mind.
Mhm.
I don't understand that at all, especially when Andrelton Simmons is not going to be back next year. Um, and then, at the front office, just whiffing on move after move, it seemed like over the last year or year and a half or so. Um, it's just, I don't know, man. It seemed like they had the formula right off the bat, but they've swung and missed so many times here. I mean, it looks like they're trying to retool slash rebuild. They went and traded for a bunch of promising prospects, and hopefully those guys can kind of help turn this thing back around. But I don't know, man. They shouldn't have had to go into a rebuild so quickly into their window, which they thought was wide open for years to come, and just came slamming shut.
Yeah, I think adding on to that, really, I think it's been disappointing. Obviously, the this 2021 Twins team, obviously, we had to ship out guys like Cruz and Barrios, so we envisioned obviously finishing the season here, and Barrios probably for the long term, but that all fell to the wayside once we had a lost season, and we had to trade him for future assets, which is kind of an unfortunate reality, but they were necessary moves to make, and yeah, like you said, just a year that was lost where we're not doing anything, and that sucks to really come to that realization. But beyond just the Twins too, I think you made a lot of good points about all those teams. And if I had to truly rank them, I would probably put the Twins at 4 as well, just
Mm-hmm.
because I think they're the farthest from a certainty right now as far as what the future roster looks like. I think we have
Yeah.
a lot of fun prospects that are probably on the cusp of MLB playing time here. And we're already seeing some of them, like Joe Ryan, for instance. But
Yep.
at the same time, it's just you never know. Prospects are prospects. They got to come up and prove it first until you
Right.
feel like they're a mainstay on the roster and can really play in the league. So I think the Twins probably I'd put it 4 as well, which is kind of interesting because if you had asked me this before this Twin season started, I probably would have put them at number 1 as far as most championship ready teams of our
Same.
4. So it's amazing how far the mighty have fallen here in
Yeah.
mere probably 6 months or so. So
Mm-hmm.
that's it just is what it is. And I'm excited about the future. I've got a lot of good prospects. It's just I got to see it come together a little bit more first, and the picture needs to be a little bit more clear. And we got to see which of these veterans we're keeping around in this offseason, because obviously a lot of them had their names floated around at the trade deadline here at the end of July this season. So
Yeah.
you got to see if these guys are here for the long haul too, if Falvine has other plans. And then I would also add going up there from 4 to 3, I would say I'd have said Timberwolves just because I think I'd love to be more bullish on them and put them even higher in this rankings list. But the fact of the matter is we've only made the playoffs once since 2004, so I can only go
Yeah.
so high with them until like you got to see it to believe it. And once to make the playoffs once and make a little bit of noise, then they'll probably skyrocket up my rankings because I love our core for the future. It's just got to come together, but their
Yeah.
picture is a little bit farther along than the Twins as far as young pieces and having success. So I put the Wolves there at 3 like you did. But I
Yep.
think the switch I'm going to make, and I know this is probably unpopular after the start of the season, but I'm going to put the Wild at 2 just because
Hmm.
I like I like them a lot, and I like what they did last year. But I also think there's going to be some natural regression from last season because I mean, uh, another fact of the matter is that half their schedule was against some bad teams. Like San Jose was not good, Anaheim was not good, LA was not good, and
Right.
but the thing is that's encouraging is we did play pretty well, or at least held our own, especially against Vegas, but also Colorado a little bit there too. I think we
Yeah.
got beat up a little bit more by Colorado, but now we're going back into a tough Central Division, so we'll see how that shakes out this time around. Having a basically a new group playing together since we last were in this true Central Division, so kind of
Right.
excited to see that, but. And then that leaves the Vikings at number one. I just think this because I like all the star players we have in place here. Not to say I don't with the other teams, but with
Hmm.
this team, I love Dalvin. I love Jefferson. I love Daniil Hunter. I think there's a lot of cornerstones and in a lot of important positions that you need to be a championship team. And I really think we're a quarterback away from really making it all happen. And I'd say I preface this too with I'd say Kirk is a good quarterback. We need a great quarterback or a good quarterback on a cheap contract. So
Right.
I think that could take us over the top. And for now I'm still, as I mentioned in our post game wrap up after the Cardinals game, I'm still a Zim guy. So I don't think we need to make a head coaching change yet. But obviously that could be on the horizon. But importantly, I'd like a quarterback that's just on a more team friendly deal or just a guy that's going to go out and take the game over and win it for you even when other things fail. So I put the Vikings at one because of those reasons, just because I like the I just love the star players enough, and I'm kind of biased towards the Vikings. Truth be told, I think
Yeah.
that's my team, and it's hard to go against them. And I just think, like I said at the top of this too, they have put us in the best possible or given us the best possible chances to go and win a championship. Because in our lifetime, I've seen them play in the NFC Championship twice, and while we were
Yep.
technically alive, another two times in '98 and 2000. So
Right.
I mean, they give themselves chances at least, albeit I'd like it to be a little bit even more. Obviously, you always want more, but
Yep.
and especially a little bit more together within a nice window. So I'd still like the Vikings at one.
Yeah, and it's tough because the Vikings are my favorite team too, hands down.
Yeah.
I'm obsessive about the Vikings. I'll fully admit
Mhm.
it. Like you mentioned yesterday, we could probably name all 53 players on the active roster. Like that's how insane it is.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm so down on the Zimmer and Kirk thing. Like it just those two together do not work. It's clear Zimmer
That's
never
a fair
wanted Kirk
question.
from the beginning, and you either have to get rid of one of them or both of them. I think, and if you're going to get rid of one, I think you should just get rid of the other. Like you might as well start with a new coach QB combo rather than firing Zimmer and trying to find a guy just for Kirk. When Kirk's getting up there in age, you don't know how much longer he'll be around or how much he'll be able to play at a high level for the rest of his career,
Hmm.
or vice versa. Why would you bring in a young quarterback to have Mike Zimmer develop when he doesn't even give a crap about the offensive side of the ball? So I don't know. That's the one dynamic. Like you mentioned, we have great players at all positions on the offense and defense. Brian O'Neill is a stud offensive tackle.
Yeah.
He just
Exactly.
got paid. We
Hmm.
got Harrison Smith locked up under contract for a while. I still believe in Irv Smith at tight end once he can stay
Hmm.
healthy. Even Conklin's a good tight end. So yeah, we got studs all over the field, but there's clearly something off there. There's with all the talent we have. We're supposed to have good defensive coaching between Zimmer and Andre Patterson.
Hmm.
Offensively, Clint Kubiak, he's new, but he's learned a lot from his dad. I don't think he's looked too bad, honestly, the first two games. So
No.
I don't know where the disconnect is with this team. I mean, clearly they're a couple unlucky plays away from being 2-0 rather than 0-2, but
Yep.
good teams find ways to win games, bad teams find ways to lose games.
That's the truth.
So we're 2 games in, but I like the ascension of the Wild from where they were a couple of years ago, how they've built. Now they have a superstar player. Kevin Fiala seems to be a star player. They've got just solid pieces, and they're young and they're getting better, and that's what I like about them.
Hmm.
Where the Vikings kind of seem to be treading water, they're not really moving anywhere in terms of like progress. They've actually kind of moved backwards since 2017. So
Yeah.
that's been the most disappointing thing. The Wolves, obviously, the promise of the young core. I mean, that's what's most exciting. Is Ant looks like he could be a superstar. Cat's already a borderline superstar.
Hmm.
D'Lo is a very good player. Um, Beasley and McDaniels seem like they're going to be excellent role players. We still have the potential to trade for Ben Simmons. I don't know what that looks like, but there's so many options on the table right now for the Timberwolves. And if this doesn't work, you can ride with Ant and McDaniels and trade Cat and D'Lo, get a bunch of pieces back for them. Like the Wolves have lots of options, and that's what makes them very interesting. And the Twins, yeah, just a complete disaster of a season when nobody expected it. Like you said, we expected them to be championship contenders. A lot of people thought they'd contend for a World Series this year. It's not even close, and now they're having to restart. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious that they're probably in the worst spot right now out of the four major teams.
I totally agree. And add one last thing on this Vikings conversation, and especially in comparison to the Wild, because I think the Wild are the only team I could truly put at one here instead of the Vikings, because for the reasons we mentioned with the Twins being too far away from a clear picture as to what the future looks like, and the Timberwolves, they just gotta go out and prove it. But the Wild, I mean, in the franchise's history, how many playoff games or how many playoff series have we won? We haven't won a playoff series in what's it been, like 5 years?
It's been at least 5 or 6 years, I'd say.
Yeah, which that's too long. But again, we have a new core, new group, so I think we got to turn the page. It's fresh, clean slate, and these guys took the Vegas Golden Knights at 7. But if we kind of see some more of the same stuff, where we kind of squeak in the playoffs or kind of grind our way in and just get bounced in the first round, and especially if it's handily, then that's going to give me a little bit of a bad look on the Wild. But
yeah, and that's kind of the main point with all these 4 Minnesota sports teams. I mean, Timberwolves have mostly been horrible, but with the other 3, you can say they've been walking mediocrity for the better part of the last 30 years. And while it's great,
since the Twins won that World Series, yeah,
exactly. Like, while it's great that besides the Timberwolves, these guys haven't been the worst team in the league. What have they done? I mean, the Twins haven't won a playoff game in 17 years or something. They've lost 18 playoff games in a row.
That's just, oh my gosh.
The Vikings, every time they get to the NFC Championship, they falter. I mean, they completely no-showed the last time they played in an NFC Championship game. The Wild, like you said, they haven't won a series in the last 5 or 6 years. Like you said, it's a new core, but they kind of have to prove it, kind of like the Twins do too. Like, all right, we need to see something here. And then obviously you got the Wolves, who, they won one playoff game a few years ago with Jimmy Butler, but they were never even really competitive in that series. So it honestly seems like we didn't even make the playoffs that year.
Yeah, exactly. And the Wolves have only had one season in their franchise history, which dates back to 1989, where they've won a playoff series that season. They won 2 in 2004. That's it.
Yeah. So that you could argue, it was a great season for Kevin Garnett and
MVP,
the team in general, but you could argue it was almost a fluke. Like, it never happened again. So, But before we wrap up here, this question's kind of obvious. We're both huge Vikings fans. So let's just throw the Super Bowl out of it. We know we'd rather see the Super Bowl. It's the greatest championship in professional sports. It's the one big event. People host parties for it. It's the most watched televised event in the USA every year. So besides the Super Bowl, which of the other 3 championships would you like to see the most?
I realize we're in the state of hockey, and that'd be a huge deal if the Wild won the Stanley Cup. I think that would just be awesome, just for the history of it, just coming home to the true, like I said, state of hockey. But I kind of lean towards the Wolves, just because I feel like the entertainment value there and winning an NBA championship would just be through the roof. You saw Milwaukee just go crazy when the Bucks won it here this past summer. I want that in Minneapolis. I think that'd be so much fun, watching a nice, great series in the NBA Finals. Just one of those classic ones that you remember for years, and having good old Mike Breen in the call. He's probably my favorite play-by-play guy in sports, I would say, for sure, basketball, but possibly in sports. And just you just never forget it. I think the whole experience, the camaraderie, everything around it and about it would just be great. So I gotta say a Wolves NBA championship would actually take the cake for me. And the NBA, I would add to, is just a super global game. So I think that would be great to have a Minnesota team just put out there for everybody, and really that would just be great for basketball in Minnesota.
Right. And I'm going to preface this by saying I would take any championship, because I've never witnessed a championship. But,
yes, exactly. I don't care. Yeah. Who does it? Somebody does it. Do it. Yeah.
The Twins I can kind of throw out because they've won 2 World Series, even if that was 30 years ago.
albeit, yeah, that would be a lot of fun. But
It
yeah,
would be
like,
fun. It'd be great. But I'm kind of with you. I think the Stanley Cup would be awesome, or the state of hockey. It'd be great to see the Minnesota Wild win the National Hockey League Stanley Cup. But I don't know, man. Like you said, the NBA and the attention that comes with it, and how they advertise their superstars, like the the publicity that like Anthony Edwards could get out of this. I mean, he could be a
yes.
global icon. Like
Yeah,
he could be the next
exactly.
big thing in like China or something.
Mhm.
So it would be absolutely insane if especially for a franchise that's been so bad for so long, could turn it around and win a championship that's honestly extremely hard to win because the NBA is so top heavy and you can almost predict who's going to win the championship every year. So
Yes.
for the Wolves to be able to come out of that pack and just surprise everybody and win a championship would be absolutely incredible. And I don't know if, I mean, it would rival a Super Bowl. I think it wouldn't be better than a Super Bowl, but it would rival it in terms of the impact. Because like we've talked about before, Minnesota is a basketball state. They're just
Yes.
waiting for this team to get good because they'll show up for games and there's going to be fandom everywhere for the Timberwolves. And I think people will be surprised if once the Timberwolves start turning things around, how much support they're really going to have. So
Yes, I mean, heck, you can see it in our videos here. All this
yeah,
Timberwolves content that we're pushing out there, everybody responds to, and we
that's true.
absolutely love that. So we love that fans are really into this Timberwolves team. So I hope they can give us a good product on the floor this year. And it's just, I honestly, if you'd asked me this at the beginning of the summer, I probably wouldn't have thought of the Wolves for this. But at the same
Mhm.
time, now I feel like after watching Milwaukee win a championship, just a completely similar market to us, feels
Yes.
like kind of a story we could theoretically a path we could theoretically go down. I really would just enjoy that a lot, and I think it'd just be so much fun. So, yeah, give me that NBA championship.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. But yeah, like you mentioned, it's been great to see the support on our Wolves videos. And
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to do videos like this too, where we can cover each Minnesota sports team,
Mhm.
talk about where they're at and where they need to be, how they can get there, stuff like that. So feel free to leave your comments below, how you feel about all these Minnesota sports teams, who you're liking the most, who you're down on. Um, who you think has the best shot of winning a championship and who you'd most like to see win a championship. Maybe it's the Twins. Maybe you're a big Twins fan. You'd like to see them win another championship. So we'd
Mhm.
love to hear that from you guys as well. But we're going to wrap on this episode of the North Star Takes podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Like I said earlier, if you haven't, that'd be awesome. Give us a like as well. And feel free to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And thank you for watching.